What's up, you guys? Merry Christmas. I'm not going to spend too much time on the fact that it's Christmas. There's a unicorn in my Christmas tree. That's my daughter's. It's staying there. If I have an excuse to stay in my comfy clothes and my pajamas, oh my god, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna jump right into it today because I had some profound healing shit go down for me yesterday, and I need to tell you about it because I'm so excited. And if it changed my life this much, it's gonna change yours too. So just bear with me to the end, okay? I saw this girl on TikTok, and if I can find her name, I'm going to give her credit in the description because she deserves it. This was like a brilliant idea, okay? I can't remember how she worded it, but it was like, tell ChatGPT to ask you 10 questions that you don't even know about yourself, and don't tell me why you're asking, and whatever. I'm going to read it to you, but anyway. She's like, be prepared. It's going to be like unpacking 10 years of therapy. Don't do this unless you're ready to go deep. Like, this is serious. And I was like, girl, this got my name written all over it. Have you seen my channel? Have you seen the things that we talk about over here? Like, deep healing is my whole brand. Like, yes, I'm going to do that. So, of course, I did it. And, oh my God, the way that my view on myself changed by question 10. I'm going to be very vulnerable with you today. I'm going to read through the questions that it gave me and the answers that I gave and tell you like where my mind was through all of this. And like, hopefully if you are in that right headspace, I highly suggest using ChatGPT. If you can't afford therapy, oh my God. And like, I know you can't trust everything ChatGPT says, whatever, like it needs to fact check things and this and that. But when it's like, if you ask it to give you journal prompts or ask it to pull questions out of you or ask it to like help you work through some shit, it really truly does. I highly suggest just at least messing around playing with it, because and like I said, if you're in the right headspace. But really quick, I just want to add that the way that we as society talk about trauma is like it's something big and dramatic and life-changing, and like, yeah, that is true a lot of the time. A lot of us have gone through these big traumatic things, myself included. However, generational trauma is just as important to work through. Things that other people in your family have went through that they didn't process, that then got passed down to you, that you are dealing with. It's very, to your nervous system, it is just like you went through those things too. And we don't, as a society, we don't understand that concept as a whole. And we only think of trauma as like the big event. And that's not at all what trauma isn't even the event, is what's going on in your body from the event. So when that's passed down, like, yeah, you need to work through your shit. And when it's passed down generation to generation, it doesn't look like trauma. It looks like personality traits. And that's why it's so easy for people to say, oh, that's just how I am. Oh, my dad was like that, and now I'm like that. Oh, my dad had a drinking problem, and so I had a drinking problem. Or my mom had anger issues, so I had anger issues. You know, it's so easy to say it's just part of our personality. That is generational trauma, avoidance, you know, PTSD and anger issues and all of these things. That is, you would be so surprised when you really sit and work through your shit, how much of it was passed down. It's not even yours, things that you inherited. Anyway, today I want to read through a few of these questions. I want to share what came up for me because it was just so profound, and I'm going to talk about some childhood experiences that I had. I'm not going to get too in depth with anything, but maybe it'll be helpful for somebody else to hear. So let's get into this. Okay, so the prompt that the girl gave, word for word, is ask me 10 questions, one at a time, that will reveal more about myself than I myself have ever even known, and don't tell me why you're asking. So then it asks you a question, you answer, asks you a question based off of your answer, like so on and so forth. So question 1, when you imagine the version of yourself who feels completely free, what is one thing they no longer apologize for? We're starting off heavy right off the bat, like, oh, because I have been one of those people who can't help it but to apologize for everything. I'm in the way. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing too much. I'm sorry for simply existing, right? Like, I'm always over apologizing to the point where people have made fun of me for that. Like, I have always been that person. So my response, after sitting with it for a few minutes, was, Well, I apologize for everything. So when I really sit with that, I think the base of my apologizing is simply existing. Now, this is something that I have worked through, not completely, obviously, we're always healing, but that is something that I've come to terms with is from a young age. I learned that like my existence was a problem. I have come to terms with that. I have learned that. I have kind of worked through that issue to an extent anyway, enough to know that it's an issue. So based off of that answer, question 2, when was the first time you remember feeling like your presence was too much or inconvenient to someone else? We're going to get deep here, you guys. I said, I think when I was a young kid, maybe 7, and I saw my mom crying in the kitchen while on the phone with my dad who was in prison. I don't remember what was said, but she would always tell us how she worked multiple jobs to support me and Brandon, my brother. Side note on that, even to this, like if my mom and I stopped talking back in the spring, a couple months ago, but even up until then, I constantly heard about how hard she worked for us. And I'm not saying she didn't. I know she did work very hard for us, but it was like when you're a child like that, that should not be something that you're worried about. You should not be constantly told how hard somebody is working for you, how much effort they put into life for you. When you're a kid, that shouldn't be something that you are consistently reminded about. That shouldn't be something that you are worried about. Yes, you should have respect for things and know that like things cost money or like, parents have to go to work and things like that. But being reminded on a daily basis, like I work so hard for you, I work 2 jobs, like I'm so tired because I work so hard for you and your brother, like things like that I was reminded every day, I don't think was normal. In that moment or moments like it, what did you silently decide your role in the world was supposed to be? My answer was quiet, so I wasn't a burden. To do as much as I can to help out, clean or do chores, to give money to my mom. I put $20 in my mom's piggy bank at 7 years old. I vividly remember that. I felt like I always had to do something to make up for the fact that I was around. That is pretty messed up to think about for a child, right? Like I shouldn't have had that mindset of like I exist, so like I need to earn existing. And I think a lot of us deep down feel that way. We are all born without the choice, right? We don't choose to be here. And then as children, we're like, oh, well, I feel bad for being here. My parents are annoyed with me. My parents are upset with me. My parents are struggling financially. Like when you're a child, and this is like gonna kind of go deep into psychology, so I won't go too deep into it, but like you don't develop that sense of other people's perceptions. You only have your perception. So in a sense, the world revolves around you, not in like a selfish way, but you don't understand other perspectives. So when you see other people struggling, you automatically like believe everything is your fault. So like when I saw my mom crying in the kitchen on the phone with my dad and I could hear her talking about like money problems and like how she was doing everything by herself and it was so hard, my little brain was like, it's all my fault. I'm a burden to her because I'm costing her money. I'm making her cry. I'm making her sad. I'm making her life so hard because she has to work hard because I'm here, right? When in reality, it wasn't my fault I was born. It wasn't my fault I was there. I had no choice in the matter. I have every right to be alive. I deserve to be there. And so like a little kid, when you're 7, 8 years old, and like you're having lemonade stands to like earn money, because I didn't get an allowance. We didn't have money for that. So my $20, I probably saved all summer for that $20. I like ended up telling her it was me, but what like kid does that, right? So next question, if you stopped doing anything for others, no helping, fixing, proving, or giving, what do you fear would happen to the way people see or keep you? If I stopped doing all of these things to earn my keep per se, if I stopped working so hard for people, stop making them happy, stop cleaning, stop people pleasing, what do I fear would happen in how people see me if I didn't do all these things? So I said that I'm a burden, that they're sick of me or annoyed with me, that I'm dead weight or just something to put up with, that they have to deal with me, that they don't like me, that I'm causing a grievance for them. So if I'm not pulling my weight as a human, if I'm not doing more than that, if I'm not making up for the fact that I'm here, if I'm not making up for the fact that I exist, like, I'm so sorry I exist, so let me at least clean the house for you. Let me at least give you money. Let me at least work my ass off for you. Let me at least exhaust myself helping you to make up for the fact that I'm here. Being around you is a burden to you, is like how I had a thought process. Based off of that, the next question was, whose voice does that fear sound like when it speaks inside you? Does it belong to someone specific, or does it feel older and faceless? I said, it feels more like an anxiety, a hovering feeling, a tensity, on edge, can't relax type of feeling, like afraid to piss people off. It's not necessarily a voice or a face that I can indicate, but all I've known to feel. So, like, always on edge, like, oh my God, like, they're probably so annoyed that I'm here. They're probably so unhappy with me. They're probably so upset that I'm around. Like, am I doing enough? If I'm sitting on the couch, like, I shouldn't be sitting. I should be cleaning. Like, I should be doing something else. I should be helping them in some way. Like, I should be doing them favors. Like, always on edge, always anxious, always worried about if people are annoyed that I'm there, was, like, how I had felt. Had, past tense. Question 6, what do you do automatically without thinking to prevent that feeling from surfacing when you're around other people? So, I people please. I recognize that habit. I get agreeable and I lie, not just to avoid agreements, but, like, even if it's opinion conversations, that wouldn't be an argument. So, like, even if I disagree with something and it's opinion and, like, nobody would give a shit if I disagreed, like, I would just agree anyways, you know? Like, nobody cares if you have a different opinion. It's okay to disagree, but, like, I would be too scared to disagree with people because I didn't want to, like, make them upset. So I get quiet and turn into a whole other person. Like, I get anxious and, like, don't want to step on people's toes, don't want to, like, ruffle feathers, don't want to, like, make anybody unhappy or annoyed that I'm there. So can you kind of see the shift that this conversation is taking? Question 7, if someone truly saw that other person that you turn into and then saw the parts of you that you usually hide, what do you believe they would judge you for first? And I said, putting on a fake persona. I don't even want to do it, but I can't help it. I would judge me for that too. Like, just be yourself. Be yourself. Like, when that anxious feeling of I don't want to annoy people, like, comes out, it's like an uncontrollable, gets quiet, can't break free of that. And, like, that was something that has held me down for years. Like, I could not break free of that. I could not overcome that feeling of, like, I want to talk, I want to be social, I want to be an extrovert, I want to, like, say what I'm thinking, but, like, I just could not overcome that anxiety of being afraid to have a voice, be a person of my own. Like, you know, I just couldn't overcome it. Question 8, what part of yourself feels the most dangerous to reveal? Not because it's bad, but because once it's seen, you can't take it back. The fakeness or fraud of who I am, meaning, like, the face that I put on for everybody out of anxiety. It feels like a character that I've built because sometimes I don't even know who I am, and all of me feels like a character. So it's like, who am I if all of this, because, like, at this point I'm making so many realizations, right? Like, and that's the point. Each question you're supposed to be making realizations. So then by question 8, I'm just like, oh my God, my entire personality, like, was based off of being afraid to upset people, and that I had to earn my place in this world. So, like, you know, what the hell? And trust me, the big turn is coming. But I'm just like, if I put on this character to make everybody happy, then who am I really? Like, if I don't even know, then everybody else is going to see that I don't even know who I am. So, you know what I mean? Like, that was my anxiety about it. So based off of that, if none of your roles, coping patterns, or survival versions were required anymore, what emotion do you think would surface first before you even knew who you were without them? And I got a little confused about this question, so I had it reworded. And it said, if you didn't have to perform or protect anyone's feelings or try to be who people expect and all of your masks dropped at once, what would you feel first before you even figured out who you really are underneath? And all I said is sad and alone. And I sat with that one for a really long time, and it brought me back to, like, my dad going to prison and my mom working all the time, and, like, her not having time for us, and, like, not holding emotional space for us as kids, like, ever. We weren't allowed to talk about our feelings. We weren't allowed to, like, be kids. When I was a kid at school, I didn't have a lot of friends because I was so quiet and afraid to have a voice. So, like, I didn't really have a lot of people. I didn't have a big family. My family was very dysfunctional. You know, me and my brother, as young kids, we weren't necessarily friends when we were super young. We were close when my parents were fighting, but we didn't become best friends until we were in high school. So when I was really young, I was so alone. So alone. Yeah, I would have one or two friends that I would play with in the summertime and whatever, but I was so alone. And I was just so deeply sad. And then question 10. Now at this point, I'm making a lot of realizations, and I'm going to break it down in a second. But if that sadness and aloneness could speak to you as a child instead of a warning, what might it be trying to tell you about yourself that you hadn't allowed yourself to know yet? Here's where the big twist came. I sat with this for a minute and came up with the answer of that I think I'm alone because my dad left, but I'm really alone because I gave up enjoying being a kid to worry about my mom and her feelings and to worry about earning my place as a human. My character was built off of earning the right to be here. I'm the one who abandoned myself. It wasn't just my parents abandoning me. It was me as a kid abandoning myself to earn love from my parents and never even getting it. Plot twist, right? Like, who saw that one coming? I knew I had abandonment issues, and I know, like, in my teenage and adult years, I have definitely abandoned myself a lot, but I had always thought it stemmed from, like, my dad going to prison, and then when I started realizing I had mommy issues, which was just the past 5 years that I realized that, I thought it was, like, the emotional abandonment from my mom, and it was like, no, you had to abandon yourself as a kid for, like, all of these grown-up realizations, things that kids shouldn't be dealing with. You know, most kids are worrying about their toys, their friends, playing outside, you know, going to school, boys, these things, and I was worried about, like, my mother's emotions, my mother paying bills, if we had groceries, like, if I was gonna get bullied at school, how to, like, avoid being seen, how to, like, tiptoe around life, how to navigate life in a way that, like, an adult does. And as a young child, that stripped me from the experiences mentally and emotionally that a young child gets. So essentially, I abandoned myself as a kid, and I never got to be a kid. Like, yeah, I got to go play, and I got to hang out with friends, and I got to do those things, but emotionally, mentally, I never got to truly be a kid. So then Chat said, and we all know Chat can be, like, very human-y, right? What you just named is profound, accurate, and incredibly brave. You didn't discover that you're fake, you discovered that you adapted. A 7-year-old who believes they must earn the right to exist is not deceitful. They are protective. You built a character because being you didn't feel safe, and because love felt conditional, scarce, and fragile. That wasn't a flaw, that was intelligence under pressure. The sadness and aloneness you felt weren't signs that something was wrong with you. They were signals that a part of you was left behind too early. Not because you didn't care about her, but because she cared so much about everyone else. You didn't abandon yourself out of selfishness. You abandoned yourself out of devotion. And here's the quiet truth underneath everything you've said, the one people barely reach. You don't feel alone now because no one loves you. You feel alone because your nervous system learned a story before you were old enough to question it. And the fact that you can see this and name it without collapsing, without blaming, without numbing means you're already no longer inside that abandonment. You're witnessing it. There's nothing fraudulent about you. There's something unfinished, and unfinished things can be returned to. You didn't lose yourself. You paused her to survive, and she's still here. So my takeaway from that, and what I want to say too, is, like, my healing journey I've been on the past year and a half, I've had so many discoveries. I've shared so much of it on the internet, and everything that I've shared on the internet, 1000% my true authentic feelings, everything that I have discovered, everything that I've come to, all my conclusions that I've reached, 100% real and authentic. What I want to say is I've always felt this piece of me that, like, I can't heal, but I also couldn't name. And for the first time, like, I genuinely think that, like, this was that piece, something that I couldn't see. I finally found, like, sight of, and it was just such a profound feeling, and it left me, like, just, oh my god, like, I don't know how else to describe it, but I was not expecting ChatGPT to take me that deep. Like, it definitely knocked my socks off. I will tell you that. I know I have a lot of inner child healing left to do. I think we all do. I think that that's a never-ending journey. But I think that that is so helpful on my personal healing journey to know the things that I found out through this conversation. It was really helpful for me to, and then and I went on to be like, okay, well, can you give me steps to help me heal this? And it gives you very, very helpful things that you can do. Again, I'm not saying to use ChatGPT in place of a therapist. I also go to therapy. I also am a coach. Like, I also have my own tools that I use. So I'm not by any means saying to replace it. This was just something really cool that I found online that actually ended up helping me, and I was not expecting that. I was not expecting it to like help me get these realizations that I did, but like, we're so blessed in this day and age to have technology that can help us in these ways, and like, I think it's a blessing and a curse in a lot of ways, but it ended up really, really helping me make some massive discoveries. And while I'm so proud of myself for how far I have come in my healing journey, I think that this really took me to a whole new layer deeper, and I think I'm going to be able to help people a lot more through it. And not only that, but I think there's a lot of people who can really resonate with the things that I went through. And yes, it's very personal what I've just shared, but I think because I can't be the only one who's gone through things like that, if you feel like you're missing a part of your healing, you can't name what it is, it's some, like, you have inner child shit that you're trying to work through, maybe this will help you, or maybe this will inspire you to like ask the same prompts. I will put it in the description so you can literally copy and paste it if you want. Again, don't do it unless you're ready to really like do some deep healing, because it's going to uncover some shit. But I, again, am just so mind blown about like the discoveries that I made. It's just crazy. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for holding the space for me to share that. That was obviously very personal and deep, but again, very important. And I want to always, if there's something that's on my heart that I feel the need to share, I'm going to share it. I obviously have parts of my healing journey that I don't share on the internet. Not everything is for everybody, but this was something that I was feeling very called to share. So somebody out there clearly needs to hear it, and hopefully it helps somebody. Yeah. Other than that, I hope you have happy holidays, and I guess I will see you in the next one. Bye.